I grew up in the church, so I was familiar with the 80-20 rule. 20% of the people give 80% of the money. 80% of the remaining people give the remaining 20% of the money. 80% of the people do 20% of the work of the church, and 20% of the people do 80% of the work. That's what I thought the 80-20 rule was. Except there are other implications. Now, while what I said is true, roughly speaking, it's not exactly 80%, it's not exactly 20%, but roughly speaking, a small minority of the people do most of the work. Now, if you plot that on a bell curve, if you imagine that there's a curve starting, say, here and ending, say, here, it peaks at the middle, and that peak is consists of 20%, which makes perfect sense when you think about it. So if so some people are just barely getting into something, anything. So they just dip their toe in. They're on either end of the spectrum. As they get more and more into something, they get towards the middle, and you would expect that only 20% of the people would be in the top tier, in the top notch of something. And that's the way that it is. Now, maybe I'm not visualizing the bell curve exactly correctly, but think about that for your effort and your business, because I think that it works. 20% of your effort will yield 80% of the results. And likewise, 80% of the things that you do will only have 20% results. So all you need to do to get the most results possible, to be the most efficient possible, is figure out what 20% you should be doing first. So when it comes to writing a book, what's the 20% that you need to do first? It might be the outline. It might be actually writing the book when you consider marketing and promotion, which is a huge monumental task. There are certain tasks that will yield better results, and you just need to find those out. Do those first as much as they can be done. Some can't be done. You can't sell the book to a large audience before you even had the idea, so don't do that. But there are some things that when you do them, they give you phenomenal results. Email marketing is one of those, where you can speak directly to certain people. Now, you might think that email's dead and it doesn't get a lot of results, but you get 20% of the results. So, if 20% of the people that get your email open it, look at it, click on links, things like that, shouldn't you try and make that 20% as large as possible? So my email list is 1,000 people. It's not very big, but I'm continuing to try and build it, because right now I can get 200 people to open my email every week and click on the links. That's pretty good. 200 people. Now, when I had a list of 200, I couldn't get 200 people to open the list, open the email and click the links. I just couldn't. When I had 200 people, I could get something like 40 people to open the email and click the links. So, a better use of my time, instead of trying to get those 800 people that aren't reading my email, instead of trying to get them to read it, a better use of my time is trying to get new people on the list so that my 1,000 becomes 2,000. The amount of effort it takes me to get another 1,000 people on my list is pretty minimal compared to convincing 80% of the list to open up the email. So while I can do it, having more people on the list means if I get another 1,000, I get another 200 people actually reading the email. So do you see how that works? I could talk till I'm blue in the face about to the other people, and I'll continue to do that, but I need to think of that as 20% time. Something that I do kind of in the margins, something peripheral, because it's not going to yield quite the results that finding another 1,000 people will. And finding another 1,000 people isn't all that difficult. So that's what I need to do. So as you're working on your business, as you're pursuing your calling, as you're chasing your dream, start to look for places where a small amount of effort, a small amount of money, a small amount of your time yields huge amounts of return. And put your interest, put your time, put your attention on those things, and you'll make a much larger dent. So, could I email everyone that I know individually and talk to them? Yeah. Will I not get more return by making a single video like this? Yes. The other would take 80% of the time. This takes 20. And that's how I'm going out to change eternity. Until next time, this is Paul Allen Clifford with TrinityDigitalMedia.com.